I'm really learning to embrace my Pocahontas dive, okay? The Pocahontas dive is allowing yourself to jump into the unknown, to jump into life fully, even when you're scared. My name is Tanya Eve. So the purpose of this video is to kind of fill you guys in on the direction of this channel for those of you who are new, to learn a little bit about me, and yes, just to fill you guys in what's about to go down. So I started this channel back when I moved to South Korea. I was teaching English there. Life was super cool. I was like, I gotta document this. So I just started vlogging in Korea. Then I ended up finding love and getting married, and I took you guys along for the ride when I moved back to the United States, and I did the whole kind of military spouse thing because my ex was in the US Air Force, and we are no longer together. We are happily divorced. And I'm on a whole new journey. If you saw the recent video, you saw that I'm actually with the ex before the ex who recycles exes. Like, it's time to share for me what it is that got me here. My life has been insane. Like, I just turned 31. I've lived abroad in another country. I've been married, I've been divorced, gone through health issues. I've started my own business. When I was teaching English in South Korea and sharing content, I would have these urges to create. And so when I did move back to the States, I created Teach, Live, and Thrive in Korea, which is my Korea course. I then went on to create TEFL Relocation Amplifier, which is all about teaching English abroad and just getting really prepared for that experience. The Korea one is the same thing, but specific to Korea. Then I moved on and created Communicate Abroad Academy, which is all about communication, all about activating your aura and really creating that dream life for yourself abroad. So if you want to learn more about my courses, about helping you move abroad and helping you create the dream life abroad that you desire, then definitely check those out and I'll link them below. And since then, I've really gone on my spiritual journey. I used to be really religious. So I grew up as a Pentecostal Christian. And about the time that I moved abroad was when I started to question everything. I always say that moving abroad gets you away from familiar places, faces, and spaces. And my only intention when I moved to South Korea was to become a new person. I wanted to become a better version of myself. That was my main intention, that I would become a completely different person. And like, it's actually insane how different I came out on the other side. When I was in Korea, I started to ask myself, do I believe these things? What do I believe? I started to see how other people lived, and that really changed and shifted things for me, which brings me to now, where I am on a deeply spiritual journey. One thing I have to say about myself is that I have been Pocahontas diving or Pocahontas leaping into the unknown, into new experiences. The first leap was moving to South Korea. I didn't know anybody there. The only thing I knew about Korean was what I learned from K-dramas. And it was only because I just had, like, the reason I went to Korea was just because I saw a flyer in the hallways of my college, my university. And it advertised for people who wanted to move abroad to teach English in Korea. And I couldn't get that idea out of my head. And so I just Pocahontas dove over to Korea without knowing anyone. I studied Hangul right before I left, so I could at least read and sound out letters and stuff. And I downloaded Pimsleur, and I started to just learn from Pimsleur, and it was like the super formal Korean. And after that, my next leap was leaping back into dance. While I was over in Korea, I got into dancing, and I got really into the K-pop, K-hip-hop scene. I would do performances. I was actually invited to teach my own dance class, like, out of the blue. And a lot of these pieces of my story was the reason I started to create courses in the first place, because I just randomly decided to go to Korea, gather that courage, because that was a process. Leaning into that wasn't like the most logical decision, but I was following my heart and I was following my urges. Then I Pocahontas leaped into dancing, because dancing was like a hobby I had done off and on. And so getting into dance over in Asia and South Korea was big, because I was like, oh my God, I was battling just like standing out like a sore thumb, obviously being a Black woman abroad in Asia. And then going into the dance class, like dance studios, dance classes, you know, you're gonna naturally stick out. And so I was insecure about dancing, about what I was doing. And that was a whole thing. The next leaving jobs in Korea that like just didn't feel good. There was one point where one job was like amazing, and then it just went super sour. Management changed and they started to like kind of bully all the English teachers. Randomly decided, I'm gonna leave, I'm gonna find a job. And I did, and I got it quick. The next leap was like when I found love. I was dating, using all the Tinder and all the apps and Sogeting in Korea, and having my girlfriend Yuna help me out with like understanding Korean dating scene and such. And eventually I gave up, and it was like the day after I gave up that's when I met my ex-husband, and I leaped into that relationship. I ended up falling in love and having a whirlwind romance. And then we decided to leave. He was in the military, so I decided I wanted to follow him. I left. I did the whole military spouse thing. And so I leapt into that. And so I guess from dating till marriage, I was only 1 year. We dated for 1 year, then we got married, like very, very typical of the military. And we moved, and the first station I was at was in Tucson, Arizona. And then I went to, what was next? Lompoc, California. Needless to say, well, I guess it is not needless, because I vlogged that part of my life. But the thing about social media is that it's easy to fake it. Like, let's just be real. Like, yes, you can go out and have a good time. Like I've been learning and really understanding that the senses are very deceptive. Like, you can see somebody out on a date, and it could be two couples at the same like lavish restaurant, and they could both be at this beautiful place, eating beautiful things, having the best drinks. They could all look good. It'd be like done up, wearing the best clothes. And one couple is absolutely having the best time, and the other couple is miserable. It was a whole journey, and I will speak about that more if I feel called. But just to give you an idea of where this channel is gonna go, like, so since being in a marriage for about 4 years or so, getting divorced, I'm now like, I've been separated and for about a year now, and I am Pocahontas diving. I'm in Atlanta, Georgia now, and I'm with my ex. If you guys see that, I'll link the video below of when we met. Like, this is my twin flame that I'm with right now, someone who's literally been in my life like for my whole life. I've known him like longer than like I've known a lot of people, and it's been magical. Our relationship, our union, we are so well matched, and I feel so lucky, because it's like I definitely wasn't expecting for this to turn into this. And so where I'm at now is I'm really learning to embrace my Pocahontas dive. Okay, the Pocahontas dive is allowing yourself to jump into the unknown, to jump into life fully, even when you're scared. Like, most of the time I'm scared. I just do things, I get courageous, I journal it out. I have my rituals and my routines and practices to help me, and I've become very spiritual. So I kind of dropped talking about the religious thing, but picking it back up. So instead of being religious like I was back in the day, now I find myself very, very spiritual. Like, you can see I'm into my crystals. I'm into sage. Like, your girl needs a sage every morning to get into, like, I'm like fully like Cinderella into her dress when I go from like pre-sage to sage, just clearing all the negative energy. I am now a human design reader. So for any of you guys who are not aware what human design is, it is this beautiful system, a mix of ancient and modern sciences that really tells us it's like the science of how we're all different. And I found human design, I think at like the beginning of 2020 actually. And God, it really just gave me so much permission to be myself. I know we always talk about be you, be you, be you. And I've been doing a lot of things that are Tanya, like moving to Korea, getting into relationships and out of relationships, what I want, following my dance passions and such. But I think I've learned now, and I can see it based on my human design, actually knowing it, that my body moves first and it takes my mind some time to catch up. So like I'll go to Korea, I'll get in the relationship, I'll get married, I'll start my business, I'll get into spiritual. I'll do all these things, and then it kind of takes my mind some time to catch up to myself, to my actions, and get behind them. And so this channel will be talking about a mix of everything I just shared with you, from human design and really stepping into letting go what society says who you should be. We are all taught this way of like, there's one way to success, there's one way to love, there's like, you gotta be really logical, you gotta be this, you gotta hit this milestone. And I'm all about fuck society life and really embracing your truth, who you are, like everything about you, everything that you think is probably weird and wrong and off, irresponsible, all that stuff. I love how like human design has been an amazing tool to help me debunk that and let that shit go and just learn to rest in my own energy. So we'll be talking about that on this channel. We'll be talking about spirituality. We'll be talking about manifestation, because there's so many things like in the stories, like little pieces I told you, just even in those, where like getting into my first job in Korea, finding jobs quickly, finding love twice, like reconnecting and finding love, have always been from a very like detached, very flowy, getting into alignment and flow. And these things have just come to me. So I'm really learning this for myself, really learning to see it, because my life has been so flowy. I now identify as a fairy because my life has just been like, there's so much magic. And I really have been into energy lately. Another thing that we're going to be talking about on this channel is people pleasing, self-love, all that stuff, because that's been a big thing on my journey. I doubted myself for many years and still work through lots of self-doubt, lots of being insecure. We're going to be talking about healing that and what I've done to heal that, what I've done to build my confidence so that I could do things like make big moves, so I could start my own business, so I could train people to make their own leaps, so I can get into human design and give readings that have changed people's lives. So we're going to be talking about people-pleasing wounds. We're going to be talking about letting go of society rules. We're going to be talking about femininity. Oh my God. Like, so I was dancing in Korea, doing like K-pop, K-hip hop. And very, very recently I started pole dancing. Girl. And I've been in my spirituality journey. It has kind of naturally led me to the divine feminine. I think again around 2020 is when I started to learn a lot about the divine feminine. Around 2020, I started to learn a lot and like study so much about divine feminine and divine masculine. And I started to really take it upon myself to have a practice, learning my body, learning about the divine feminine, understanding this huge part of our culture that has just been shunned out because women have been oppressed for thousands of years, literally all over the world. And so many of us are so out of touch with what it is to be a woman. And I am like, the place I'm in my spirituality right now is really like learning what is this magic of the divine feminine that we have been shunned away from, that we have been told is wrong. that is bad, that has been demonized. A lot of this shame, like I used to think so poorly of myself, and I feel like a lot of my own like self-love wounds have come from the church and have come from the very only seeing masculine figures like at the pulpit growing up, and he in the Bible, and just so much BS that has been just poured into women from religion, from media, from schools, from to this day. So I'm going to be sharing all this on this channel. There's going to be a lot more talking videos, but I just wanted to hop on and share with you guys the direction of this channel. I hope you guys will stay along for the ride if this all resonates with you, if you want to learn more about magic, manifestation, human design, just living life your way, like literally stripping all the bullshit and living completely freely. This is the main thing this channel is going to be about. Being a fairy, living freely, living your best soft life, and having fun. Yeah. So thank you if you are still here and watching this video. If you've not already, please like this video, subscribe, turn on that little notification bell, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye-bye.